Hello. I'm going to give you a review of this disc. It's AC/DC Power Up. And I wasn't going to do this at all, but what happened was I made the simple comment on the AC/DC fan board, which I'm part of, that was a rebuttal to their statement on there that this was the breakthrough album of the year. And at this point, I've seen all the reviews on Amazon, and everybody just blanketly gives a 5 stars because they love AC/DC, but they're not really listening to the actual album. They're just going after a nostalgia trip, or they're just thinking that every AC/DC album sounds the same, which they kind of do. So this must be as good as everything else, but it isn't. And I'm going to give valid reasons. So if you're going to comment on there that AC/DC is the best band in the world, or that they've sold more records than any other band and all this stuff, I really don't care about that, because this is what I'm talking about. So I'm a drummer. I like to play the songs that come out on the records in my garage. And part of being a drummer is enjoying up-tempo stuff. And this album has nothing up-tempo in it. It's all mid to slow. So what I'm referring to, if you go back to Razor's Edge, one of the most exciting songs on that album is Fire Your Guns. There's nothing like that on here. And not that you have to have a whole album of fast songs, but that is indicative of someone that has some high energy. They're out there to rock you and make you feel like this is brutal rock and roll. These aren't those songs. They're all mid-tempo. And what I found also kind of perplexing is the titles and the lyrics are a little bit goofy on this. Like, the first song is called Realize, and I don't even know what I'm supposed to realize in this song, other than that they recycled lyrics from Hell's Bells with the phrase, chills, we're going to give you chills up and down your spine. That's the exact same lyric from Hell's Bells. So, I'm not one of these persons that has to have anything profound in their song necessarily to make it good. But come on, man. You're going to just take the same lyric and reuse it again. And the thing is, nobody's noticing, because they're going to pop this in their player and they're going to listen to it once, and then they're going to wait for the next album to come out in 4 years if they're still around. And then they're going to, oh, AC/DC's back. But this time, I'm not so happy they're back. Black Ice was real good. I like that record a lot better than this one. And what I try to do, I've got all the AC/DC records. I try to go through the back catalog and compare album to other album and see what ranks up there. So, if you had to compare this to something, it would probably be like Flick on Ball Breaker, or maybe Flick of the Switch. But even Flick of the Switch closes with the up-tempo Brain Shake, which most AC/DC fans probably don't even remember Brain Shake. Not necessarily their best song, of course, but at least it's up-tempo and rocking. At this point, every song AC/DC has ever done is now become a blur, and no one can really review an album for what it is, other than, hey, it's got a pretty red cover and it's got AC/DC's logo on it. So, man, this is awesome. So there's a couple good songs on here. Shot in the Dark is pretty good, and I think it was Witch's Spell, and a couple of them in the middle were okay, but most of them were just boring. And so let's see what else I wrote on Amazon here. Let's see. So if you had to rank this as a number, this is probably like a 3 out of a 5. And like I said, it's probably in line with Ball Breaker, one of those middle of the road, which I think Ball Breaker is boring too. But if you had to compare it to For Those About to Rock, it's not even close, which to me, For Those About to Rock is probably a 4 out of 5. Razor's Edge is probably a 4 out of 5. And that's got a couple of hit producers on there. There was some songs on the radio from Razor's Edge. And the thing is, you can't really use the radio as your benchmark, because they're probably not going to end up with anything on the radio. If they do, I'd be surprised at this state. Maybe they will. Maybe on some rock stations, they'll play this. I don't know if anybody even listens to the radio anymore. But this ain't nearly as good as Razor's Edge or For Those About to Rock. And if you had to look at the classic best records with Brian Johnson as the singer, I mean, you got Back in Black. There's no way that this is even close. So if you called Back in Black their best album with Brian Johnson, this is nowhere in the ballpark. And it seems to me like probably a lot of what took the wind out of the sails of this band was Malcolm Young's passing, and it's his brother. Angus probably wasn't really into it. He's just putting this out to be done. I like the comment on the back of them that this one was for M or something like that. I can't find it now, but anyway, not too enthralled with this record. They're getting old and they sound like it. The comment that I got virtually tarred and feathered over on the board, on AC/DC's board, was that if you're going to make a statement that this is the breakthrough album of the year, you're going to have to compare it to Blue Oyster Cult's new record, The Symbol Remains. And that record just straight smokes this one. It's got up-tempo stuff. It's got varied songs. They don't all sound the same. They're not all mid to slow snoozers. There's only one ballad on that album, which it's great. They're not known for ballads, but just a better mix of songs on the BOC record. I am a huge BOC fan. Anybody that really digs into BOC, besides the morons on that board that post, oh, more cowbell, which is all anybody knows about BOC without looking into them. If you actually listen to them, you know that Buck Dharma is by far superior guitar player to Angus Young. And their previous drummer, AC/DC's previous drummer, can't remember his name, but the bald guy, when he quit, he basically said there's not a lot of deep skill in that group. Basically, it's play the same 5 chords that everybody knows. And ultimately, you go back to the 70s when everybody's growing up, starting to enjoy AC/DC. Let's be honest, part of the reason is a lot of these young guys had guitars, including me. And who can't play 90% of AC/DC's songs on guitar? Maybe barring the solos, but the rhythms, I mean, you know, it's regular old chords. Nothing really fancy to any of it. So that really built the mystique of this band. I think is a lot of people going, hey, I could play this in my room here. And now the mass amount of publicity they have is unstoppable at this point. So if you actually said this other album over here is better because it's actually better, they're going to eat you like a bunch of piranha. So to those guys on there, this is what I have to say to you. BOC is a way better band and just period better than AC/DC. And this album is better. The Symbol Remains blows this album out the window. And I'm still going to keep buying AC/DC records. If another one comes out, I'm going to buy it. But I'm going to tell you, if this ain't great, it's not great. It's boring.